right, let's call the September meeting of the Millwood Historic Preservation Commission to order. Looking at attendance, we've got 3 of the 5. Alex and Colleen are not here yet, but we do have a quorum, so we can go ahead and proceed. And the first item would be approval of the agenda. So if you want to take a look at the agenda, we did omit one thing, and that's approval of our last minutes. So for the minutes of the June meeting, we'll have to review and approve those next month. But do you see any other additions or things that we need to discuss tonight? And if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
I second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
So tricky.
We're going to be doing that all night tonight, so that'll be good. All right, so action items for this evening is to review our video project, which final wrap up. So they were completed, to my understanding, by Tribe Media. Looked great. Christina has posted them on the website. We did need to add language giving credit to the State Department of Archives or Historic Preservation for the funding that led to that. So that has been done. Final report. So I know for final report and editing, I think are the 2 things that we'll just need to finish up on. So Christina, do you have any links to that final report or copy? I mean, we could help fill it out, but we would just need to get the right thing.
I don't know that I have anything. I don't know.
I sent, at the end of August, there was a requirement to do a follow-up report, and which I sent. I sent her the 2, 3, and then Christina sent her the other 3 videos. So in her, Michelle's letter that it says, consider these, where is it? Please consider this project finished. So, isn't that final?
Yeah, if they don't require anything else. But there was one form that we just have to submit for payment, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's,
So I'll follow up with Tribe and make sure that, I'll start with Debbie, but then I'll make sure that we get invoices and figure out what needs to be done.
perfect. And if, you need any help following up with Michelle, let us know and we can do that.
Okay. When should we talk about the footage that we did for this hours and the format so that we can continue to make our own videos? That was part of the deal.
We could talk about that right now.
Okay.
But let's see if that's one of our other commissioners coming in.
I don't think so.
No, okay.
So the music's all over.
So they issued a cease and desist order for the events.
Someone
They
downstairs.
can't do anything about just people playing music.
Practicing.
All right, so other things about the video. Annie.
So I know there was quite a bit of other footage. There probably is drone footage, and they had an interview with Shireen Young, is your last name? Shireen Young, that didn't get used. And she has a perfect mid-century modern example of a home. I think it was just it's so hard to fit all that into 3 minutes. So that would be something that I think would be fun for us to put together, following their example, their shining example. So those two things, the format, which is on Canva, I think, and then the footage, we should ask them about how do we obtain that, or can you just send that to us, or how does that work?
Okay, is that a request then that Christina can make, or Annie, you working with them to set this all up? If you could just reach out to them and.
I could reach out to them.
But the footage would probably need to come to the city of Millwood and be placed on the server or on a disk or a file or a thumb. I don't know how big the file is.
Yeah, right.
I know technology is not my forte, but yes, it might be too big to email, or if they could put it on a site that we can pull it from, and if there's a place to put it on the city server or somewhere we could get access to it. Does the city have Canva? Okay, so at least that's a software that we have that we could do the editing in-house if needed.
Yeah, I just actually purchased it for Millwood Days to get those videos on that loop that they were on. That is what I have. That's the program that I purchased. So don't mistake my purchasing it for knowing how to use it.
I was just going to ask. That was my next question.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on that, but let's circle back to that during my staff comments.
All right. But definitely getting a hold of that extra footage, and then at least we have the technology to do editing ourselves if needed. Okay. Anything else about the video wrap-up?
Do the other commissions know about our videos, or has the word gotten out?
They haven't been given the videos. I've talked about the grant as we've gone through it. Of course, Planning Commission was meeting in the park just like you were, so they haven't had a chance yet to see them. But now, yes, now I am going to start to, I've toyed with a couple of different ways of kind of maybe randomly distributing them, even through our email blast list that we have. So, yes, they will be shown the videos.
Well, great. And can an announcement go in the newsletter?
Yes, yes. We have a newsletter coming out next month, so I can definitely put it in there. And I spent yesterday and today working on your page. It doesn't look like a lot on the screen, but behind the scenes, because I'm learning as I go. It takes me a long time, but yeah, I've got some different ideas for putting them randomly on the homepage so that they're more visible. And so, yes, I will start to distribute them.
Is there any way I know there's a counter app that you can have to see how many number of
Views?
number of views there are. Views, yes.
I don't think I need an app. I'm not positive because I think I told you maybe at the farmer's market, maybe it wasn't you, but initially I tried to just upload them to the website and it said they were too big. And so I asked Andrew from Tribe and he said, do a link to your YouTube. So they're on YouTube and I think YouTube keeps track. Oh. So I think even if you just went to YouTube and clicked on it, I think it would show you. We can look at that after the meeting if we want and see.
Which is also awesome because then it's accessible to anybody and they just do a search and that could come up. So yeah, a little extra exposure. All right. And at some point too, I know we've talked about that the Preservation Commission could do a report out to City Council at one of the regular meetings, just talking about some of the things that we've been doing and our accomplishments. So if we wanted to do that earlier or later in the year, I mean, I'm happy to come to a meeting if I'm free and talk about these things.
Yes, when we get to staff comments, there's more to talk about that has to do with that too.
Okay.
So I do have that sort of out there. And I'll chat with you about that later. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I think it would be great to go to their meeting and at least show one of them, with us there, but we can talk about that going forward.
Okay.
Everything, we're just zoom through everything and then I'll talk about everything at the end. It'll be great.
Which is all right. All right. All right, so next an action item would be Century Building update. So I know that, Annie, thank you for drafting a letter that could go out to property owners that have been identified for being in buildings that are at least 100 years old. So I don't know if you've had a chance to review.
This is way better than what I drafted, so whoever revised this did a great job.
I'm pretty sure that was you, Chris.
Oh,
I don't know.
it's been so long, we've had so many
It feels like
non-meetings. Yeah, but it's great.
Yeah, we've been doing great things at the farmer's market in the park, but yeah, getting back into this. I think there was only one typo that I noticed. As Millwood approaches its own centennial, let's celebrate what is great about our community. And I think that was the only correction that I saw.
Right.
But it looks awesome. And I think, Christina, you're going to ask Lisa to put together the mailing labels or the list of all those properties that were released in the comp plan that showed what years
Yes.
different addresses were.
So are we ready for this then to go out? Okay, I will get her to work on that.
Okay. And if you need us to have our regular signatures, she can just contact us. We can drop by and sign a master if that's important to have on the letter.
Okay.
Or our names, just type our names. So
Yeah.
we can.
We do approve this letter.
Yes.
Going out.
Here are our names, but not our signatures. You don't get to see those. Great.
All right, because to date, we only had one resident request a deacon. Two, we're up to two, we doubled it. And do we know if that came from our outreach at the farmer's market or at Millwood Days?
Farmer's market, and it was a gentleman who lives right over here. Bobby knows who he is. Yeah, so that's probably a failure on my part. Sorry. I know he talked at length at the farmer's market. I think his home, a part of it belonged to the Woodards at one point, or do you know who I'm talking about?
The Bartleson House.
There you have it. And so he's an older gentleman, and he came and talked at the farmer's market, I believe, and was told about the program and everything, and was told to come in here. And so Lisa just gave him the thing. And I'm okay with that because I understood from the conversation that he qualified, but he didn't get the certificate or anything like that. And so I think that takes a little bit of work on my end to, have Lisa maybe just take their name and number or whatever and say, we'll get back to you or whatever. I don't think it needs to be something where they're handed the decal right there. I think it should be a little bit more formal than that. That's just my personal opinion.
Ceremony.
And of course, in another circumstance, we'd want to double check the age of the home, but I understood from the conversation in the farmer's market that he did meet it. So yeah, we've got two out there now. Two out there somewhere.
Oh, that's great. But yes, if you could put that in where they would come request it, put it, I don't know, there could be a form that they could fill out and we can get back within a week, business days or whatever. And after we confirm that, and that would include the decal and the certificates. And also, I guess, asking, would they want to be on an interactive map? That in a couple of years, when we have enough of these properties and we have the time to develop that map where people can see where those are located. There might be a property owner that would choose not to be on that map because they think that that might drive too many people by their place, but I think in the letter we gave them the option. All right, any other comments about the Century Building program?
No, it's just great that it's proceeding.
Yeah. All right, and then next on the action items would just be maybe do a little bit of brainstorming to identify properties that we could reach out to property owners to see if they would want to be included on our local register. So Barbara and I had this conversation at Millwood Days. We were just talking about, Barbara, what about your house? Or the corner door with Bobby, or I met a woman who also owned a property that was kind of behind the corner door. And it's just, are there ways that we can identify people and properties that they might be open to going through the nomination process of listing their property on that local register? Definitely don't need to strong arm people, but it's just making them aware that that's an option and that we do have resources here on the commission that could help them write and submit the nomination form.
It would be really nice to get that old hotel, some kind of a plaque or information about it that, you know, it used to be where the corner door is now. And it is the oldest structure in Millwood, isn't it? It's the apartments
Right,
now.
I think so, but it's not in its original location. It was moved, which
Yeah.
is an even more interesting aspect of it. So,
Uh-huh.
a two-story building, did they use logs or something to move it?
Probably.
Yeah, so it was quite a production. So that, who owns the hotel, do we know? The apartment house?
I do know, I can't think of his name right off, but I do have contact information for him.
That would be a good start.
I think the mayor's house also, he had expressed interest in putting it on the register at one time. Whether or not he has the capability of filling out the applications and stuff on his own based on, I know, his personal job and then what he does here. But I know that with the Harsh building, the commission was doing the heavy lift there. And so I would think that he would probably be amiable to that. I would talk to him. I can talk to him and
We could
see.
get it started for him, and then,
Yeah.
just do all the. like
And
you
he
said, the
told
heavy
me that
lifting.
he had information or knew quite a bit about the house, so I can follow up with him and see what his level of willingness would be.
'Cause that's so appropriate, for the mayor's house of all. The mayor lives in Millwood and has a historic home.
Mhm.
That's just such a logical and great step.
And
let's
was it,
pursue that.
who was it that spoke at Millwood Days with the woman who lives behind the Presbyterian Church? I talked to her for a while. I think her name, I want to say Karen
Yeah,
Buck.
she's an author and she lives in the old, I call it the Janicek house.
She,
That house might be.
she had some fascinating,
With the tubes that were in her house that were, because it was owned by the,
there's some sort of
Some-
communication
Yes.
system evidence of that.
yes.
So she might be someone to think about too. I don't know.
Does anybody know her personally or see her on the street when she's out walking? No. But keep that in mind.
I'm sure Vicky Nacarado knows who she is. I think that's who we were talking to when we talked to her about the it's something in her sewing room that she's covered up. And there was I forget what the operator's name, you know, he was a communications guy. He was in charge of something. And it was like being on call 24/7 back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 2 front doors and one went to an office.
Good.
I don't know if it's still there,
Well, that's definitely a good.
but yeah.
But anyway, I did want to include this on the agenda because it's something that we just need to keep thinking about and reaching out to people. And again, it's that perception that being on the local register and being involved in historic preservation isn't punitive. It's not going to tie you into having to follow guidelines necessarily. I mean, there are ways that we can, I guess, offer resources, and it shouldn't be a negative. We just want it to be a positive and a way to, again, keep preservation. It's so important to our community. But at least, yeah, if we could find out about the hotel, about the mayor, and if I can remember who that other woman was behind the corner door that had that old property. Again, just to reach out. And if not on the local register, at least the Centennial Building.
It might also, I mean, I probably shouldn't be piling on here, but it might be worth a letter to homes we know meet the qualification, you know, as far as age or whatever. Maybe just a mailing that we could send out, maybe just to see if it generates any inquiries about it. You know, did you know your house is eligible or something? I don't know. And that's,
I think so. I think that would be
that's a good
great.
idea.
I didn't mention it because I thought that's kind of a burden on your office, you know, but how great would that be, you know, to get some, elicit some feedback? Because people might not even think of it, you know, they might not even occur to them that would be a fun thing to do, that it's doable, so, yeah.
And especially if they might be considering doing any work on the property that could qualify them for reimbursement through taxes, so. Another letter that we might be working on in the
Okay.
future. Okay.
A little hands-on activity for planning an addition or changes. We talked about that a little bit too during Millwood days.
Yeah, a fun thing to attract people to the display table where we're
Yes.
at would have some elements of, I don't know, not reconstruction or remodeling, but preservation, like, you know, what type of windows would you put in this type of house? Or
Yes.
what type of porch? And if you had the elements that you could just mix and match and talk about why it's important.
And we could refer to the pattern books that people selected a lot of these houses from. And I'm wondering if it would be okay to copy from the pattern book the original pattern of the house that, you know, this family, like the Buckland house is in a pattern book. And then play with some pieces, like, you know, from the green book, the right windows and all that, to replace windows or to add an addition, like, how could that addition my mom put on look different?
so we talked about this a little bit. Barbara and I think you and Chris had talked about it, and then after you left, Barbara and I were chatting about it, and I don't know if Barbara mentioned it or I did or I dreamt it, but talking about the idea of maybe having it be like magnetic. And so I went home after and I looked at those magnetic sheets that I have, and they are meant to be put through a printer. So it's just an 8.5 by 11 sheet of magnet with a white side, and you can put it right through your printer. I'm going to get to my comments here in a while where I tell you how overworked I am. And that's the truth. But I, just sitting here thinking about it, I haven't given it a lot of thought, but I think it might be worth me doing a little searching. I think like on Etsy, I don't know if you've purchased much off of Etsy, but I'm wondering if we couldn't find someone who could create some sort of magnetic. I'll try and remember. I'll make a note to myself to do a little, because I think there's a way that you could do it with those magnetic sheets where you could, have windows, and it might be a little above my crafty abilities, but maybe I could find someone who could help us. So I will look.
Be fun. All right, and next on the action was just youth involvement, and this was something that Colleen was talking to me about at a farmer's market, was would this commission benefit from having a representative from West Valley High School that could give us a youth perspective, might be from his honors history or social studies program that would provide the community service that would look good in their college applications, but connect us with the high school and with the curriculum there, and then just give us a younger perspective, because we are not that as young as a high school person. And sometimes we think of history, old preservation, but how do we connect that topic to a younger generation?
So what's the mechanism for contacting? Because I remember a couple of years ago, I sent letters, or I got the emails of teachers in those subjects, and it was crickets. I think part of it was the time of year, because it was just, they were too overwhelmed with school. I think it was like April, and that's just madness when just before the school year ends. So now might be a good time to push that, but how do we do it? Who do we contact, the principal, or?
Well, I guess the first question would be, would we see value in that, and would we want to reach out to the high school to see if there could be a student representative? Had there been student representatives on any other councils or commissions in Millwood government would also be a question.
This subject comes up periodically. I know that at one time there was something called a Teen Advisory Council that was kind of spearheaded by Patty, who was in Lisa's position previously. And to be honest with you, I don't know what they did, but I understand that it fizzled out pretty quickly. Councilmember BC had floated an idea that she had heard from at a conference that she'd been in from another city, where they would have, she proposed that we would have a West Valley student basically sit like a council member at the meetings to give same sort of thing, input on, and then that never, I think she brought that to us maybe right before COVID, and then it fell apart. So I have only reached out to West Valley for one project that shall not be named. And I went directly to the teacher via email. My only concern with this is I think we would have better luck with them if we had a more well-defined intent. So if we can come up with, do we want them to attend our meetings and just participate in the, I think we should flesh that out a little bit. But I definitely feel like West Valley is a little bit of an untapped resource. So, yeah, I think we should flesh, if that's what you all decide you want to do, I think we should flesh that out a little bit, so when we reach out to them, we can give them a better idea of what's going to be involved, so they can pass it along.
Absolutely.
No, great suggestion, and I would say let's table this discussion to next month, when Colleen could be here too and might be able to add more about what she was seeing this position could have. But yeah, be thinking about tangible activities this person could help us with too, whether it's doing research or helping with the magnet board and learning about different architectural features.
I know high school's kind of like a job, can be, especially the last 2 years. So I think defining the purpose and exactly how much of a time commitment it would be, and what we would expect of them, or, you know, we don't want it to be, so you're 16, what do you think about it? You know, we want it to be substantive, or something like what, and someone who would respond to that idea would clearly be interested in history or great-grandparents' house or something like that. So, yeah, I think we should pursue it further.
And I'm pretty sure that once they get into those last 2 years of school, don't they have a community service requirement? I'm pretty sure they do, where you are, in order to graduate, you have to provide evidence of, I know this is the case for my son, of a certain number of volunteer hours or community service. So if we could find, you know, if we could tailor it some way that it could be recorded in that manner as well, that might be help to make it more appealing.
Okay.
They probably already have established guidelines for community service and what the requirements are, and so we could tap that to our situation. Well, that'd be great.
All right, yeah, let's keep talking about that and thinking how we could use the young person if we were to get them. And it'd be easier to recruit that way then. Yeah, good point. All right, and then last item for action items would continue the conversation about updating our resource guide too. I think we talked about this in our June meeting, that the Green Book, we want to take the content of that, but it needs to be rewritten, needs to look better, needs to be worded a little bit more positive and not punitive for property owners, and turn it into something that I guess might be a better use for Millwood residents. I had in my notes that we were going to ask you, Christina, to send it to us in a Word format so it's easier for us just to go and track changes for editing.
I believe you did ask me that.
And I just saw that because I was looking at my notes going, yes. But if that is possible to receive, then it might be easier for us to go in on the computer, track changes. And also, I think Colleen and Alex have talked about having a little bit of graphic experience. They might be able to help with some format and make it look a little bit more professionally done. Or if not, that could be something that we identify the need for funding, and we can go to City Council and ask for a certain amount of money to have that done. So again, just want to keep talking about this so we don't forget about it for another year.
Well, it does go along with the video showing, we're not, you know, not preventing you from doing anything. Look at the possibilities of staying within some guidelines that enhance the atmosphere of Millwood, unlike some atrocities that occur in our city. So it just goes along with just making it as smooth as possible, as convenient as possible for people to, you know, update their homes and yet not make really drastic changes that are ugly.
So I feel like I should know this, but I don't. I know that when we looked at the Harsh building, the day that we went over there and looked at it, and when Katie was working with us, he had talked about adding on to that building, and there had been a conversation about how he could add on to the back of it, and that would not disqualify him. Are the Kings not eligible because their addition is so visible, or are they still eligible? And I ask because I think that would be a really, if they are still eligible, I think that is a really great example of how you can update it while keeping with but I wasn't sure of the technicality there.
So I have a resource that I can text. So what's the question? What's a good way to phrase the question? Are the Kings?
I guess my question is, I know that you can make an addition to a historic building and still have it qualify, but does the addition have to be like inconspicuous? Or can something like what the Kings did where it's very visible, can it still qualify?
But yeah, Annie, you can look into that. From my understanding from our training with Katie is that if any new addition is separate, so if it's not attached and it's not trying to look like it's the same building, it would still qualify.
So the Kings won't.
I think it would be, well, and it's the front facade too.
Right.
I mean, if there's an addition on the back or the side then it would also not disqualify it.
So qualify for?
Tax. If it were to be.
Be on the
If it
register.
were to be on a local
Be
register.
on local register.
Because when you all are talking about like you want the Green Book material not to be punitive, you want people to see that it's not going to squash their dreams. I think that that's such a good example because I do think they did such a nice job. It's so beautifully put together that I do think a person who didn't know wouldn't know. And I think that would be, if that house was on the register and you could say, look at what they did. And
Right. My understanding is that from the origin of their plans for both houses that they worked on, that was the intent, was to make it well within the guidelines. And you can just look at it and see it's consistent with the original. So I think that was the plan all along.
Right, and they did come to us for that.
They did, right.
Yeah, that opinion, and I think they followed it really well. So yeah, I think they would still qualify.
I can't imagine that she wouldn't want to be on the register. She was really careful about what she did. And so.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so for the resource guide, we'll just keep plugging along on it. If we can get that in a Word document that we can start doing editing. Any other comments about the Green Book?
No, just that we should have, yes, just that we should have, we could all work on it and then get together and see what we've done or what we've swapped drafts or whatever. I'm thinking a working extra meeting or something like that.
Yeah, this could be something in the winter when we've had maybe a couple of months to review it, because it is an extensive document. But then I wouldn't see a problem with having a special meeting that's a work meeting, where that's just the only thing that we focus on. Staff report.
It's later. All right, I've got quite a bit. So the city council approved staff to move forward with one of our graphic design proposals for a new logo. So myself and Councilmember Culler have reached out to that individual and asked for a meeting. Part of that is going to be my request that they provide me with a logo that I can adapt for my commissions. So, probably be a general logo, and then, where I can add in Historic Preservation Commission or Planning Commission, so that we can identify ourselves a little bit. So I'm hoping in the coming months to be able to bring some ideas. I'm interested to see what they put together. Tomorrow, I believe, the mayor has a meeting with the people who provide the microphones and stuff for this room. This system is not working. It's not working for anyone. So the plan right now is just to tear it all down to nothing and come back with a different setup that doesn't rely so much on individuals to turn mics on and off. And my understanding, I believe, is you can only have 3 mics on at a time, and if a 4th person tries to chime in, it won't work, and if you don't talk on the mic, they can't hear it on the video. It goes on and on. So we should be seeing a new system for that. We have a couple of upcoming events in the city. The gentleman who put on the 5K for Millwood Days has talked to me about a Halloween haunted 5K on Sunday, October 23rd. It'll start in the Historic District, right where it'll follow the same route that the Millwood Days does. So over to Empire, up to West Valley, and around. They're going to have a shorter one for kids. They're going to have people dressed up. They're going to ask residents over there to decorate their yards. So I think it's a cute idea. We'll see if it gets any traction. The Millwood Brewery has submitted a permit to hold what they're calling the Fresh Hops Festival in the park on October 8th. It's a craft beer event.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how it goes. It's a little late, getting a little bit of a late start, but the gentleman with the 5K also is going to be holding a athletic activity in conjunction with the Fresh Hop Festival, so that'll be a thing. Listen, I don't do 5Ks and I don't drink craft beer, but I will say that I'm encouraged by people wanting to hold events in Millwood. And the brewery, when they came to me, they talked about the amount of traffic Argonne sees for people on their way up to Green Bluff during the fall, and hoping to capitalize a little bit on that. And so it may be something that turns into something. And then the farmers market, they are planning a trick-or-treating event. The preferred plan would be farmers market vendors will set up their booths in the tennis court, and then kids could come down and trick-or-treat the different booths. And if it's rainy that day, she was a little concerned about puddling, so in that event, they do it up on the parking strip. But just another safe event for kids. Millwood Presbyterian is having their trunk or treat that they always have, and so I know that Jessica, the market manager for the farmers market, had made contact with Scope to hopefully get some assistance in getting people across Argonne so they could attend both. So that's some upcoming.
So that would be on the 30th or 29th or
31st.
31st?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm
Let's see I wanted to talk for just a minute about our summer in the farmers market. I know that and Millwood Days. I didn't spend a lot of time in your booth. The Planning Commission booth was where I was needed, but I guess I kind of like to know your feedback from the Planning Commission booth. I really left with this feeling that it was a really valuable exercise. Aside from the information that was gathered for the park plan, which was substantial and good. I just felt that, and we've got a couple of new members on the Planning Commission as well, a value in a more casual, less structured way that they got to know each other better on a different, I mean, the three of you, obviously, and me, we know each other pretty well. We've got some new members, but I just wondered how you felt about that and felt about going forward, maybe not at every farmer's market through the summer, but is that something that you enjoyed or felt was valuable?
Except for the day that it was 104 degrees, except for that day. I thought it was great, and people love to talk. And they love to talk about grandma's house and, just what they know about the history. They just, I mean, why we didn't have microphones on or video cameras, I don't know, because it was that, I mean, just for that alone, it would be great to do more of those.
Okay. I was super encouraged. Like, I don't think, at least my impression, when you talk about historic preservation, especially with people who don't want to be told what to do, there sure was enthusiasm, it looked like, in your booth. And even at Millwood Days, again, I didn't spend a lot of time in your booth, but man, you guys got a lot of traffic over there. We went through a lot of the pins, and I thought the videos seemed like they were getting good feedback, and so I'm glad to hear that you...
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was good exposure. We probably had more people come up to us and learn about who we were than do through these meetings. So I think Barbara's point is just to have more, something interactive at the table that would draw people in and get the discussion going. I know without the pins, we probably would have had fewer people come over to our table, so thank you for letting us hand those out at our table. But I do appreciate the table cover and the Preservation Commission kind of swag on the canopy. I mean, you really made it look inviting. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And as we do this, yeah, if there are activities that we could do or have more display that would draw people in, I think that would be better.
I've been shocked both years, this year and last summer in the farmer's market, those pins are, how excited people get about those pins. So I'll keep on.
They're very cool.
Well, yeah, they are, yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so well, I'm glad to hear that you guys enjoy that. That sort of booth decorating and stuff, that's sort of my love language. I was talking, actually, the woman who runs Valley Fest, what's her name? I can't remember. But she stopped by our booth. She came by with like Miss Spokane Valley or something, a princess with a tiara. And we were talking, and I said, if I had known when I was young that event planning was a thing, that's where I would have gone. Now I'm too old and I appreciate my weekends too much. And I think that, most of your work would be on weekends. But yeah, so thank you for noticing.
So were you talking about Millwood Days or the farmer's market or both?
For what?
For just the getting the word out about the City of Millwood booths and the historic preservation presence. Because I took brochures and just went down after the run, stuck them in people's faces like the walking tour, and everybody took some. People go, oh yeah, I'll take. So we're like, if they were sitting there, no one would take one. But when you go down and you got a stack. And,
make it a thing.
Here, you want
yeah.
a walking tour of Millwood? So
Great idea.
so. They were too tired after the run to resist, or too uncaffeinated. But anyway.
And one thing, remind me too, you were working on a coloring book, right, with some of the...
We had the coloring book in our booth.
Okay.
Yeah. And those were really popular. We didn't make enough. So those are just pages that we had made, and then we bought I guess it's a binding machine. It's got a glue strip, and you put the pages in there, and you put it in the machine, and it glues it all together. And so, we obviously we didn't know how many. I think we took about 60, and we were gone, long before we shut our booth down.
Oh.
So those were popular, and yeah. If the giveaway things are the things that get people in there, I've learned that. And this year I was kind of giving away odds and ends of stuff that I had, 25 pairs of sunglasses and the random pins and stuff. So next year I can start fresh with new stuff. So, okay, good. City emails, checking them. I don't expect them to be checked every single day, but if we could check them twice a month, that'd be super. I'll be honest, aside from the agenda and stuff, you probably won't get much from me, but I have sent some things to some members that have just never been acknowledged. So that would be great. And then also, we've had a few that have been sent from members of commissions to the whole commission, which is, again, a no-no. And so just keep that in mind.
And don't hit reply all.
Yes, never hit reply all.
Yeah, don't email to everybody, just to Christina.
Yes, just to me.
Or to,
You just, even,
just Christina.
just Christina, because you could share with me, right? Because sometimes Annie sent things to me and you.
Yes. So, and technically that's okay.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
When she sends it to you and Barbara, then that would be bad. So I guess my advice would be, if you have a good handle of that, feel free. But if you don't, then just don't send to anyone but me. And if you just, I think, Annie sends me stuff and says, can you distribute this to everyone? And then I just hit forward and send it, and that's fine. And I'm fine to do that if you just want to make that little note. Okay, so the report to council sort of leads into the larger thing that I wanted to talk with you guys about tonight. So the week after Millwood Days, August was really crazy, and especially that week leading up to Millwood Days. And I will be the first one to admit that with this sort of event planning stuff, I go overboard and create a lot of what is otherwise not required work for myself and my husband and my 2 children. And, the fact of the matter is I don't want to sound like a whiner, because I that's not what I'm trying to do, but I don't get any help here. So no other employees are really inclined to help with that. I can get Kyle occasionally he helped always with the setup of the tents in the farmer's market. But anyway, the week leading into Millwood Days I worked 70 hours that week. And, there was a lot. We had a special council meeting. We had the movie in the park. Anyway, the following week, I shot out of bed in the middle of the night and remembered that arguably the most important letter I've ever been asked to mail had not been mailed. And it wasn't so much the content of the letter as it was the timing that it had to be mailed, and I had dropped the ball. All of this to tell you that a light has been shown on my level of overwhelmedness here, and has forced a examination of my priorities. And so, in concert with that, September, just because I have kids at home, always seems to me to be like my New Year's. That's always when I kind of reset for the year and reprioritize. So all of that, then to how I need to rein myself back in and get myself back under control. And the way that I try to do that, both at home and at work, is to over-organize everything and try and get control. And so I want to talk just about the fact that I'm going to be coming to you. I think we need to be going to council with this commission a minimum of 3 times a year. Whether or not that is one of you going as a representative or all of us going, and I will tell you why. They did this thing when I worked at Spokane Valley where I think at the January, maybe one of the January council meetings, the city manager gave a really in-depth presentation on the accomplishments of the year before. And, Mayor Freeman he's not really big on all the real formal stuff. But this commission in particular, I feel like went from very quiet and kind of, I don't like this word, but I can't think of a better one, unremarkable, to really in the matter of a couple years just churning out the best products that we're as a city creating. I cannot get over the professionalness of those videos. It's such a slap in the face of how much better it is when you have somebody produce something who knows what they're doing, And so I would like to, at the January council meeting, go to council with a report of our accomplishments for all of our, well, both of my boards. But you guys in particular, really, I just think have knocked it out of the park. So the videos, the getting the couple houses on the register, I don't feel like that stuff is getting enough attention and enough appreciation. And my just reporting on it in a staff report at this council meeting isn't what's going to get it done. So, so then the harder part of this is that, and this is my fault, so don't at all feel, because I just did it tonight, oh, let's make a magnetic activity. I'll go look at that. Oh, we should write a letter to everyone. I do it to myself. But recently with some of our new members, there has been a great deal of enthusiasm for a couple of kind of bigger things. What the most important in my mind, the idea that we would host some sort of event for Historic Preservation Month, and there was some excitement and some talk. And I'm the first one to get swept up in it. And I'm coming to you tonight to tell you that I will do what I can, but I'm not going to be able to do the heavy lift on stuff like that. And so understanding that we all have families and jobs and responsibilities. I know this is a volunteer board. There's a finite amount of time that any one of you is able to dedicate to work for this. I just want to ask that we be cognizant as we talk about these things, like hosting an event or something, that we are also being realistic about how much time each one of us can devote to it. Because I feel like, again, my own doing, I spent a lot of the summer devoted to snazzy booths because that's the stuff I love to do. But this other thing that really in another place of employment would have gotten me fired fell through the cracks. And there's no one to blame but myself, but I need you guys to know that I'm just gonna have to watch my priorities more and be more careful. That, I'm wondering if an event is the right thing for us in May. I think the other thing is that I'm right in the middle of budget season, and I told you that the treasurer had come to me and recommended that I make a line item but in my budget for historic preservation. And right now what I have in there is $5,000 for next year. And so through our conversation tonight, and again, through the lens of having been working on the webpage, you don't know how many times I heard, I'm Mary Pat King, because I was moving the videos around and it kept starting, you know, I could probably say everything that she said. But I would like to propose to you that maybe rather than jumping into a big event, maybe what we look at is from a historic preservation budget standpoint, keeping in mind what I just said about my ability to commit time to it, the idea of possibly just on your budget, in your budget, maybe hiring Tribe to take that additional, look at her, take that additional footage, and maybe we can get them to produce another video or two and just pay for it. The other thing that I thought too, as we were talking, was with this green book material, maybe through our meetings, we as a group kind of reword, edit that stuff, but maybe talk about potentially hiring a professional who could do layouts of the brochures or the handouts. I've said this to you guys before, I'm really trying to elevate the product that comes out of here. And from everything from our permit applications to brochures to these videos, in my just clerk budget, I'm going to put in money this year to hire a photographer to take just professional photos of Millwood so that when they're on our website, I was so impressed by the drone footage from the videos. I'd love to have some drone type photos that are really good quality. I can take a really great picture with my iPhone, but it just doesn't compare to what Tribe gave us. So we're never going to have $1 million budget for this commission, but I know we've never had a budget before, and so I think that maybe we should think about, rather than putting that to a big event that we may or may not have the resources within this group to put together something, maybe we look at spending some money in a different way that might be more impactful. So I will make an effort. I didn't do well tonight to rein myself in on committing myself to all of these things. You know, and a letter, don't ever, mailings and that sort of thing, those aren't hard for us. Lisa is a master at it. What would be the part that I would need assistance with would be the writing of the letter. So if we decide that we're going to send a letter out, if one of you or as a group or whatever, we can come up with the letter, and I don't have to be responsible for writing it, sending it to you, sending it, you know, the actual nuts and bolts of getting it in the envelope and out the door, Lisa can take care of that, no problem. Part of my review of what I've got going on is also including a little bit more of a lean on Lisa. And so you might see her coming to these meetings in the future to take the minutes, and I'm going to try and convince her that that's a worthwhile. So, but definitely I do have her as a resource to lean on a little bit. So with that, I think that's everything that I wanted to talk to you about. I can answer questions if you have any.
I just have a comment that on the original grant, the way that it broke down, and that was what was so appealing about Tribe, was that what they could do for a relatively less money, well, a smaller amount of money than the others that we that bid. And I think it was, correct me if you remember differently, 3-minute video was $1,500, so we could do two for, we could have them do two for $3,000. Did I say that right? A 3-minute video for $1,500. So no, and plus, there's some different, arrangement of money and time, but wow, that would be
Yeah.
great. I was thinking why stop now,
I would also think it's worthy of discussion that instead of continuing to just produce 3-minute videos, that we also look at different things that could be used on social media as well, something that's a little bit shorter and could be a hook to get them into it. So
Yes.
we're maybe talking about 30 second to 60 seconds that could use some of the footage. And again, they've done so much work to generate what they have that it would make sense to, I guess, identify what we would want to see and then see if they could help do that, or if not. Yeah.
I did not have this on my list, but I did remember to talk with the city attorney about what Colleen had asked about as far as that Facebook advertising or whatever it is you pay to have it shot to people in your area. And he said, I can do that.
Oh.
So if we did have some social media content, then I could do that too. So yes, okay.
But that is something, yeah, we appreciate your time constraints. And yeah, we understand that, yeah, we have to adjust.
It's largely my responsibility, and I'll blame the mayor a little bit, I've been banging around City Hall since 1986. He's really the first mayor that's really wanted to go, do. And I kind of get swept up in that and overextend myself. But this calendar year, I've made 2 mistakes that would have gotten me fired at my previous employer. And I'm really lucky that he is sympathetic to the humanness of all of us and I don't find myself in the kind of trouble that I fear, but also I want to do a better job and I don't want to have those things. So it's hard to get anything done during the day. It's just constant. And I know I'm not alone. I know that other people, but just as soon as I get focused on something, then someone comes to the counter and wants to talk to the planner. And then I'm not even done with that yet and the phone rings. And I know and then I have days where it's just crickets around here. There's no rhyme or reason. So I need to get a little bit better about budgeting my own time and leaning on Lisa. And so, but I did get a little gun shy hearing ideas being rapid fire and then no follow-up. So anyway, thank you for listening to my sad story.
I have an idea. Since you said you like to really organize things, if some of those bits and pieces, like when we set up at the farmer's market in Millwood days, if our community service person from the high school might be the designee to help make sure all that gets done and take a lot of that physical load off of you.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. Even just to have another body that can help haul things off the trailer and that sort of thing, Did you hear me say, I'm not going to propose anymore. I've got an idea for y'all.
Yes.
Because I think that we talked about this, I know that we talked about this at one time, but the Christmas market that goes along with the tree lighting. And I think I don't know if I told the group, but I told someone, a friend of mine used to have a Christmas party, and one year she rented costumed carolers from the Civic Theater, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they just sent out these 4 people who were dressed in the old-timey, and they just stood on her porch and sang carols while we all arrived, and it was the coolest thing. And I just thought, and maybe this year isn't the right time, but if we did a booth at the Christmas thing, just a historic preservation, maybe with like something akin to the pins or something to hand out, and maybe thought about seeing if something like that could, I just thought that was a neat idea and might be cool for a historic. Or additionally, or, you know, maybe West Valley choir students, you know, so, yeah, this is me not throwing out any more new ideas.
Ideas.
No, I mean, the ideas have to go somewhere, you know, so.
One thing I do want to mention now that I was thinking, I gotta stop with this. I got so many comments on the enthusiast calendar. People really love that. And I don't know that we can sell anything, but it might be worthwhile to maybe kick around some ideas of something. I mean, the pins are great, obviously, but I don't know what we could put out that maybe would have some historic photos or something, but people really like that calendar a lot. So maybe we think, you know, if we had a booth at the holiday market or something sometime with something with pictures. I don't know what it would be. But a couple of, I'm not sending out any more ideas. Good night.
All right, moving on in our agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. All right, are there any comments from the commissioners?
Just a quick one. Michelle Thompson, Michelle Thompson sent an email, sends a lot of emails with wonderful historic preservation topics. Well, one of them was a motherlode of preservation guidance. It's a link. It's basically, it's a preservation by topic, technical preservation services. So if there's some way we could put that on the website, that apparently has all kinds of stuff that, well, might be overlap with the Green Book, actually. And it's all kinds of topics. I'll just read you what she said. Preservation by topic. Technical Preservation Services has compiled this index to assist users in finding the online and printed information that has been developed on the subjects of historic preservation, cultural landscapes, and the rehabilitation of historic buildings. The index is arranged alphabetically and topics are cross-referenced where appropriate. So we could like put that link on our page and then people could just go click, you know, Windows or whatever. And so if we do that and explore it, then that might give us some guidance about what do we need to include in the Green Book. So I'm just thinking. She sends a lot of wonderful.
She does send a lot. What, do you have the date of that email?
8/25.
Oh, recent, okay.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you can put that on the website, maybe reshare that with commissioners, so as we start doing the editing on the Green Book, we
Right.
can look at
Let's
how
go through
that's
it
set up.
first. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go through that first and then see, then we'll know, or, you know, at the same time. So that's my comment.
And that, thank you, Annie, because that reminds me of another Michelle email that I received talking about Revitalize Washington is a conference in Wenatchee, October 19th and 21st, specifically for CLGs. Do we know of anyone that can or is going to that from Millwood?
We do not.
Yeah, I don't know how much it costs. There is a 2-for-1 code for CLGs, so 2 people could go for the price of 1. It's probably just for registration and not for, of course, travel and lodging, but I didn't know if that would be an interest to anyone, and if so, would the city of Millwood sponsor a commissioner to go?
I think probably we would.
Where is it again?
It's in Wenatchee.
I saw it and I thought it looked doable, but, you know, that's like 6 weeks from now. I'm like, you know, like, I'm not gonna commit. I'm already overcommitted.
Yeah, and I've got something those days, so I know I couldn't go. But I just wanted to bring that up at the meeting tonight, so in case someone thought that would be a great idea and they'd love to go, we could reach out to the city to see if there would be funding to send a person. But yeah, if no one can go or is interested, then that's all right. won't worry about it.
Well, interested if I had like nothing else.
Yes, yeah.
It sounded like a really great thing, and it is a 2-for-1 deal, so that's very generous of them.
Okay.
I have an answer to our question of, does the King's House qualify to be on the local register? The answer is, yes, it does. They could also get the tax credit with a little paperwork. So maybe that should be our first, our next application.
Right, and if they would want the tax, they would just need to be on the local register to do that. And they have, what, 3 years from the time that they did the work.
3 years.
So even if they're not on the register, I think if they're placed on the register, they can go back to the 3 years that they did the work and, submit that to the commission for review, and then we could forward it on to the county for.
So should we facilitate their application, like maybe get it started and then take it over to them and?
Well, we'd need to reach out to
We need to ask it.
Rich and, what's her?
Mary Pat.
Mary Pat, if that's even an interest to them, and if so, then we can start that dialogue with them. So I don't know, Annie or Barbara, if you know them well enough to,
I was in their house and saw their golf thing.
Oh.
How about that?
So I will reach out.
okay.
Oh. I just thought of one more thing. How did this not make it onto my list? The trail signage.
I thought that might be a source. Thought that might be a source topic, so I didn't want to bring that up on the agenda.
There's lots to say, but what I need to say is, as part of the development of those signs, I created the website, the web pages, and Bobby has the QR codes on the signs. But I don't have any information on the web pages. So my understanding at the time was that the signs would be there, and then the QR code would hit back to a web page where there would be additional information. There's no additional information. And if the signs go to production, which I'm getting the hard press now, I'm not going to be able to have the QR codes on there if I don't have if I don't have web content to link back to. So that's all I have to say about that.
So we need a special meeting, or we need access to.
Well, could it serve as a link just to have the sign available so that they could read later? There's a lot of information on some of those signs that they might not want to stop and read the whole thing there, but if it's on their website through the code, they could access it later.
Okay. What time frame are we looking at? So today is September 15th.
I don't have a hard and fast timeline, but so the problem that we're running up against that I'm now dealing with is that the metal posts that are in the ground waiting for the signs are being graffitied on the regular. And it's becoming more and more difficult to remove the graffiti, but that the sign itself can be manufactured with a graffiti resistant something that makes the cleaning of them much easier. And so I'm being asked to get them ready to go so that they can get that on, because then they think that it'll make it less difficult to remove the graffiti if they're vandalized.
So could a solution be, like Barbara said, put the QR code, but on the website just have a copy of the sign for now as a placeholder until we may have more time to develop out the extra content on that topic.
We have some of those files, some of the Google Docs that we worked on.
Uh-huh.
See, I, being a little spiteful, put together a PowerPoint presentation showing the dates that we originally did those, 2018. Okay, so I've
Who,
got some stuff.
who was the PowerPoint for?
I was gonna give it to you on your birthday, but,
October 11th. October 11th.
like I said, it was being nasty about someone who held up the project. But, you know, we've got some stuff that we could just, you know, fire hose you with whatever we have, and then you can see, this will work, this won't work, we could do this. So
Okay.
it's out there,
Okay,
so we can get it without, you know, without going beyond our commission and everything. We can, between the two of us, we can find our files.
okay,
We shared a lot.
okay.
And then would it be possible for people that have additional information to add it
Sure.
at that juncture too? Great.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, whatever we got, I mean, really, it's like content. That's all we need.
Right, the website would be fluid. The signs are fixed.
Right, the website.
But with the QR code that sent them to the website, then there, it could be like Wikipedia, right? Where people could.
Yeah, that's right.
Sign Where- Okay, that'll work, that'll be a good solution, I'll send you as much as I can find.
All right, any other comments? Hearing none, our next meeting will be Thursday, October 20th at 6 p.m. And if there is nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, it's unanimous. Stand adjourned.